Councillor Baber Baz to move the motion of which he has given notice.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's time for a more meaningful debate now. I rise today as Cabinet Member for Housing to move the motion standing in my name, which will be seconded by my colleague, Councillor Deborah Harris. Since taking on this role, I have met residents whose lives have been blighted by poorly managed, supported exempt accommodation. I've spoken with responsible providers who are frustrated that rogue operators are tarnishing the reputation of our entire sector. I have worked alongside our enforcement teams, housing officers, West Midland Police and partner agencies, all of whom are working tirelessly with limited powers to tackle the consequences of a system that has been allowed to grow unchecked. Those conversations have reinforced one simple conclusion. The current system is failing too many vulnerable people, and it is failing too many Birmingham communities. Lord Mayor, this is perhaps one of the most important housing debates this Council will have this year. Because this debate is about far more than housing, it is about vulnerable people, it is about safety of our communities, it is about protecting family homes, it is about restoring confidence in a system that has for far too long failed both residents and those who it was designed to support. Supported exempt accommodation has an important purpose. When delivered properly, it provides a lifeline for people escaping homelessness, domestic abuse, addiction, poor mental health and other significant challenges. There are many responsible providers across Birmingham doing outstanding work every single day, and today we recognise and thank them. But those good providers are increasingly being overshadowed by rogue operators who have turned supported exempt accommodation into a business model, placing profit ahead of people while neglecting the very people they are supposed to support. Nowhere in this crisis more evident than here in Birmingham. Our city now has more than 33,900 supported exempt accommodation units across approximately 12,000 properties, the largest concentration anywhere in England. Since 2017, the sector has tripled in size. That growth has happened without the planning controls, licensing powers and regulatory framework needed to manage it responsibly. The consequences are now being felt across neighbourhoods throughout Birmingham. Family homes have disappeared from the housing market. Communities have become overwhelmed by high concentration of poorly managed accommodation. Residents tell us they no longer recognise the streets that they have lived in for decades, and vulnerable people have too often been placed in accommodation without receiving the support they were promised. Lord Mayor, the evidence is overwhelming. This Council has investigated more than 7,000 complaints relating to the sector. Almost half concerns crime and antisocial behaviour. The remainder relate to poor housing standards, safeguarding concerns and failure to provide the support vulnerable residents deserve. Even more concerning is that 5 of Birmingham's 6 largest supported exempt accommodation providers have been found non-compliant by the regulator for social housing. That should concern every member of this Council. Last Thursday, Birmingham hosted an important ministerial roundtable chaired by Minister of Homelessness and Democracy, Alison McGovern MP, government departments, regulators, West Midlands Police, West Midlands Fire Service, the West Midlands Combined Authority and many other partners came together because they recognise what Birmingham has been saying for years. The current system is not working. The discussions were constructive. There were agreements that agencies must improve intelligence sharing, strengthen partnership working and coordinate enforcement. But there was another message that came through loud and clear. Enforcement alone will never solve this problem. No council can enforce its way out of legislation that is no longer fit for purpose. That is why today's motion is so important. It welcomes the government's commitment to implement the Supported Housing Regulatory Oversight Act 2023, but it also makes clear that regulation alone is not enough. Planning must become part of the solution. That is why this motion calls on the government to go further. We are asking for a dedicated planning used for supported exempt accommodation. We are asking that new supported exempt accommodation should require planning permission, just as houses in multiple occupation already do. Why? Because local councils should have the ability to consider impact before another property is converted. They should be able to ask whether a neighbourhood has already reached capacity, whether local GP surgeries, schools and communities services can cope, whether policing resources are already stretched, whether community cohesion is being undermined, and whether another family home should be lost forever. These are not unreasonable requests. These are common sense powers that every local authority should have. Our motion also calls for stronger planning and enforcement powers to work alongside the new licensing regime. Licensing without planning will never solve the whole problem. The two must work together if we are serious about raising standards and drive rogue providers out of the sector. Lord Mayor, this is not simply a Birmingham issue. With around 33,900 supported exempt accommodation beds, Birmingham's own estimated need is around 10,000. That means thousands of vulnerable people are being placed here from other parts of Birmingham. Birmingham has always stepped up forward to support vulnerable people. We will continue to do so, but fairness matters. If Birmingham is carrying a national responsibility, then governments must provide national support. That means additional funding for Birmingham City Council. It means recognising the increased demands placed on West Midlands Police. It means ensuring safeguarding services, environmental health, housing enforcement and local communities are properly resourced. And it means acting now, not asking Birmingham residents to wait until 2027 while communities continue to suffer the consequences every single day. Despite limited powers, this council has demonstrated what can be achieved. Our specialist multi-agency team has investigated more than 7,000 complaints, secured eviction linked to criminality and antisocial behaviour, recovered 8.8 million in housing benefits, removed serious housing hazard and carried out vital safeguarding interventions. Today, this council has an opportunity to send a message to Westminster, a message to Birmingham needs stronger planning powers, a message that mandatory licensing must be introduced as quickly as possible, a message that Birmingham deserves fair funding to reflect the exceptional pressures our city faces, and a message that vulnerable residents and local communities cannot afford to wait any longer. Thank you, Lord Mayor.